Okay, scenario 2, looking at Tadano load charts. Okay, so you'll need your Tadano GT 600EL charts and your study guide, calculator and pencil. And it is very handy to have a blank piece of paper. This one's still got some of my outrigger calcs on it. And what we need to do is, basically the biggest thing with the load charts is trying to navigate through them. So every manufacturer's got different kind of charts and everyone's got a different look and feel to them. The more you work in them, the more comfortable you'll become with them. But the key is just understanding basically what you're looking at and qualifying the chart. Now, you hear the term qualifying, I use it a lot. Basically, it's just making sure that if we're running a 35 metre boom, that we're looking at the correct chart that's giving us the 35 metre boom readings. But it's not just that, you're also looking at outrigger spread, whether it's got how much counterweight on it and all that sort of stuff. So it's very important that you look at the keywords and the little notes that are in each of the scenarios and match them up with the information that you're looking at. But right now we'll just get cracking with it. So I pretty much just look at the crane model that we're looking at and then I go straight to the question. I don't really pay a lot of attention to what's happening here up in the notes of the question, only because it's so much information you can just start spinning in circles. You're looking at outrigger spread, hook blocks, all that sort of stuff, whereas the question itself is actually relatively simple. So here it's just asking me, if I go straight to the question, how many boom sections are extended with a 35 metre boom length? Okay, so it's not a chart, it's not anything at all. What we're looking at here on the Tadano, if I come over to page 3, I'm just going to shift this up here. Okay, so I have boom extension information. Now, this crane has two different telescoping modes. We've got telescoping mode 1 and telescoping mode 2. All right, and then the different boom configurations that are available for those two different telescoping modes. Now, when we think about telescoping modes, the easiest way is they basically have tried using the same jib and the same jib sections to provide us with two different working capacities of the crane. What do I mean by that? Let's have a little look at the 19 metre radius chart, okay? In telescoping mode 1, the 19 metre boom only has one section extended. Now I know that you can see two sections when you're looking at the paperwork here, but it's about extension. When the boom's packed away, you've got your, section 1 or the butt section that doesn't get extended. It's always there and houses the additional sections for the crane, so it doesn't get extended. So if I'm looking at this telescoping mode 1, 19 metres, we've only got one section extended. What does that mean? That means that we've got all the other extensions still housed inside the boom, so you've actually got a lot of weight being pushed out, okay? So what that means is we've pushed out all of the sections, but they're all still inside section 2. So there's a lot of weight out there, okay? What that means though is it's very strong. So in close, that's going to be a lot stiffer and capable of lifting a lot more load. However, because there is so much weight pushed out now, as we jib down and go for range, we're going to run out of steam really quick, and you'll find that it's not good for very much further out. Compare that to telescoping mode 2. Let's have a look at 19 metres. Here I've got 1, 2, 3 jib sections extended and one housed. Okay, so I've got my 3 end sections extended now, not my strongest one, but I've got my 3 lightest ones. What does that mean? In close, it's going to be flexible. You've got smaller jib sections that aren't designed to take the higher loads. So at radius or at range, that's going to be much more effective than what we had when we had so much weight pushed out of our boom. Okay, that also means that in close, that's going to be nowhere near as good as what we had in telescoping mode 1. So just to reference that back to the chart, we'll just have a really quick look. Doesn't matter what outrigger extension is, we'll just have a look at this page here. Oh, this is so So we'll just have a quick look. Here is my load chart. Up here was 6.5 metre spread on outriggers. So this is the first, this is what I'm talking about qualifying our chart. Always start at the top and work your way down. So here I've got on outriggers mid-extended 6.5 metre spread, 360 degree rotation. The next chart down, on outriggers mid-extended with only a 4.7 metre spread, 360 degree rotation. Down the bottom, we'll just have a quick look here. We've got boom lengths and we've got all this information here, telescoping mode, number of parts of line. What is this table representing? You'll notice that these columns here line up. So 19 metres in telescoping mode 1 and telescoping mode 2, parts of line 8, parts of line 6. And if you see, they actually line perfectly up with the 19 metre section of this load chart. As I was saying, when we talk about cranes, the two things that are going to limit you are line pull and structure. If you haven't got enough reeves on your block, you're just not going to be able to support the weight because the winch can't pull it up. On the other hand, you might have as many reeves as you need to do the lift, but if the crane's not structurally capable of supporting the crane, it will either do one of two things, tip over or snap in half, and we don't want either of those things. So come back to this. We're looking at 19 metre, we've got telescoping mode 1, telescoping mode 2. As I said, telescoping mode 1, we've got jib section 2 pushed out with 3, 4 and 5 still housed inside it. Really strong, a lot of steel in the air. When we look at the minimum radius here, it says that we can take that all the way up to 3 metres and we're good for 32 tonne. To achieve that, we need 8 parts of line. Okay, so it's saying max load's 32. We can have up to 8 falls in our block, which will give us that maximum lift. But then we come across to telescoping mode 2. They're both 19 metre jib configurations, but this has got the other sections pushed out and is lighter. So at minimum radius of 3 metres in telescoping mode 2, we're only good for 22 tonne. Okay, that's a 10 tonne difference between the two. And if you have a look here, telescoping mode 2 only says that we need to get a maximum of 6 falls of line. We can put 8, there's nothing stopping us, but there's no point going any further than 6 because A, it's going to slow our winch down, and B, we just don't need it because we're not going to lift anything more than 22 tonnes. The other side of that coin, come back down here to maximum radius, which with a 19 metre jib is, if we come across here, 16 metres. In telescoping mode 1, where we had more weight in the air, we're good for only 800 kilos or 0.8 of a tonne. Whereas if you look at telescoping mode 2, we're good for 2.6. So that's what that's all about. We'll come back to the question now. It just says to us, how many boom sections are extended with a 35 metre boom length? Now, we needed to know which telescoping mode. This is where I start coming back to the scenario description and working out what's going on. So it says here I've got a 35 metre boom in telescoping mode 2. So just turn the page back to page 3. So where we had those diagrams. Okay, telescoping mode 2, we had a 35 metre jib going, and now we count. So the first one is a gimme because it's the butt section. Doesn't move, doesn't get extended. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 jibs extended in 35 metre, telescoping mode 2. So the answer to question 2 is 4. How many parts of line should the 60 tonne hook block be configured in? Really, it's only going to be configured to enough falls to get whatever you're lifting, the heaviest object on the day on site. In a real world scenario, you only reeve to your requirements. Okay, you pick out the heaviest load for the day, reeve it up accordingly, because every additional reeve that you put on there or additional fall, you're going to be cutting your speed and you'll just be way too slow. But for the purposes of the question, how many parts of the line should the 60 tonne hook block be configured in? This is where we come back to that chart on page 4. Have a look here, we've got a boom length of 35 metres in telescoping mode 2. And it doesn't really matter because both telescoping mode 1 and 2 have the same answer. The answer is 4 falls. So how many parts of the line? 4. Okay, next question. On a 6.5 metre spread outriggers, what is the rated capacity at an 11 metre radius? So if you remember back to the CN charts, capacity is different to safe working load. Capacity is purely what the crane can support. It has nothing to do with the deductions, and it's not actually what you can lift, because we haven't taken the deductions off. We haven't taken off the hook block, the rigging, shackles, spreader bars, whatever's involved in that lift. We're just purely looking at capacity, which is what these charts give us. So we're still on the top of page 4. Let's have a look here. We're going to qualify our chart first. On outriggers, 6.5 metre spread, check. The next thing, we look at boom length. So we knew we were in 35 metre, which is check. And then we look at telescoping mode 2, which is the right hand of the two. Okay, so at 11 metres, it wants to know what we're good for. So you come down to 11, this is where we grab our blank piece of vapour, bring it up to 11 metres, and as you can see right here, telescoping mode 2, 35 metre, we're looking at 9.7 tonne. So it's a little bit easier because block weights are usually sub 1 tonne, unless we're dealing with big crawler cranes or, you know, over 100 tonne cranes. So it's usually easy with these C6 things just to work in kilos. So 9.7 tonne is 9,700 kilos. Next question, you receive a precast panel certificate that shows a weight of 7.2 tonnes. Can you lift the panel off the truck at an 11 metre radius? Show our working. So this is where we take our capacity and then start taking off our deductions. So we need to look and take into consideration hook blocks and rigging. Now, they haven't specified any rigging weights here for this particular question, which is unusual, but that's all right. We still need to look at our other deductions, which is our hook block. So it said up here at the top that we have a 60 tonne hook block. So now we need to find off our charts what our hook block is. Now, if you remember back to CN, I also like to describe everything in this box here. So if we're starting with 9,700 kilograms, which was capacity, and usually I just put a little at 11 metres or wherever reference I've got that off the chart so I can remember where and chase my numbers back. We need to minus off, and we don't know what the weight is yet because we haven't found it, but we're going to take our block. And then, because there's no rigging, we won't add it there, but so whatever our capacity is minus our block is going to be what our safe working load will be at the time. So now page 4's got nothing on the blocks, page 3's got nothing on the blocks. If we go back to page 2, right here we have a specification on our blocks, and this is the crane specification sheet. Hook blocks 60 tonne, has 5 sheaves with a swivel hook and a safety latch, and the mass is approximately 430 kilos. I usually have it spec'd down here in the notes too. Yeah, so on page 5, warning and operating instructions for lifting capacities. There's all the notes, and this is where we're going to start to see things like rated wind speeds or maximum working wind velocities. You're going to see things like setups available. Can you work on reduced outrigger size? Does it have a rubber chart? Can you work on rubber? All that kind of information. And all the notes that you really need to know. For instance here, note 17 under operation, anti-2 block device, disable switch. Use that when erecting and stowing the jib and when stowing the hook block. While the switch is pushed, the hoist does not stop even when overwind condition occurs. So the second you need to use that key to get your blocks retracted, but be aware as soon as that key's turned, those limit switch aren't going to work. Pretty obvious, but it's in the notes. It's information we need to know to operate the crane safely. And if we just have a quick look here, operation note number 3, the weight of handling devices such as hook blocks, 430 kilos for 60 tonne, 105 kilos for attachment sheave, and 100 kilos for 4.5 capacity. Slings, etc. must be considered as part of the load and must be deducted from all lifting capacities. So it's pretty clear. So we come back to our notes and we were told, or we've worked out, that our 60-ton block was 430 kilos. Okay, so our safe working load is going to be 9700 minus 430 equals 9270 kilos. Okay, so that is our safe working load, not our capacity. Our panel was only 7.2 tonne, so I'm going to write 7200 kilos is less than 9270 kilos. Yes, we can lift. And that's it. Next question. All right, we're going into the lever charts now, so I'm just going to pause this here, give you guys a chance to catch up, and we'll start back up again using the lever charts shortly. Thanks, guys.